Welcome to a glimpse of a river rafting trip down the Grand Canyon. This was taken September of 2023. So, just a brief introduction. Each day is going to be set up with the day, the date, the approximate distance traveled, and a brief explanation about what will be seen on which days. This information comes directly from Hatch, and it's just a guide depending upon weather and several other things. The next thing you're going to see for each day will be photos of the map that was used along the trip. There'll be some, I guess these are teal links. If you hit, you can find the information and it'll take you directly to it. I have found out from a couple people though, it may not be working on your cell phone. You would probably have to do that on a desktop. And then there'll just be several pictures. So let's start the trip. So day one, we started out at Lee's Ferry, had introductions on the do's, the don'ts of rafting and other information as such. Got on our way, and we had stopped near or gone through Cathedral Wash. You will see photos of the natural bridge, and a couple of the smaller rapids we traveled are listed here. We have just some photos of some of the people that we were traveling with. Here we have Dan Hirsch. This is Carlos, our guide, Monica Hirsch, Steve Dupre took many of the photos that were here since I had a catastrophic failure on my own camera. Paul, Deb, and Raina. Here is a picture of the the twin Navajo bridges. There is a link later on that you can read about this. It's a very interesting story. Here is what the raft would look like once it's packed and the people are around it, and this particular picture is just showing a stop for lunch. We just kind of stopped on a sandbar. The crew put together lunch, headed out, gave us some time to stretch our legs and those sorts of things. Here we're just continuing on the river for day one, and this is where we set up camp the first night. It was just amazing sleeping under the stars. Some of the interesting facts here are listed. You can feel free to go through those at your leisure. And again, there's a link you may want to click on and, just get some more information. Day two, we did travel a little bit further. Again, you have the map, some of the sites or stops, some of the rapids, and noteworthy places. The ancestral Puebloan granaries was an excellent stop. A handful of people did climb all the way up the steep trail to visit that, and others of us just did little hikes and just kind of hung out and relaxed and kind of getting our bearings. So these photos were taken by Steve. These were taken as we were gradually going up to and towards the ancestral granaries. There were several areas like this hole in the wall, cave in the wall, that were very interesting. And this is one of everyone's favorite photos. It's just a really nice one. Continuing on that day, this kind of gives you a glimpse of one of the rafts that was in our group of two. One photo I was actually able to get prior to camera failures. And just the interesting items and things that you would see on the wall that Mother Nature in and of itself is doing its magic. The things that are cut out and the colors and whatnot. And here's one of those washed away, almost cave-like entrances that were very, very large. And as you're going down the river, it was pointed out that when there would be a little bit of a trickle of a waterfall, that plants would just randomly grow, soaking up that water. So you have this lush green plant on the side of the Grand Canyon. So those were always interesting and fun to see. Day 3, again, we're going to start hitting, you're going to see the information, and we're going to start hitting a little bit larger rapids. The map, you can kind of, again, go back and look at that if you're interested. We did start seeing some blue heron taking off, or just sitting there staring at us, watching us go by. It was very interesting to see the stark contrast between the color of the water against the dark rock. And again, the skies were just amazing. So this is day 2, some of the views. And yes, the raft would come pretty close to big rocks. We are not pumpkins here. These are our life jackets. This is myself and a bestie from here where I live now. Both of our names are Monica, so we flanked Steve with 2 Monicas. This part of the day was very interesting. We were being told, well, let me back up a moment. This morning we had, probably 2 hours of a pretty darn good rain with lightning and thunder. So the river water color was obviously a little bit more muddy. But the interesting part is where the Little Colorado River comes in and meets the Big Colorado, shown here and here. And it's generally the color of, like a light turquoise color, but due to the rain, it was a little bit more muddy. So here it kind of looks a little bit like coffee cream going into coffee. And after the rain, the skies were beautiful with all the puffy clouds. So the sights were just amazing. These are where we would be going down the river with, 15, 18 people in a boat, and it was dead silence. You could only hear a little bit of the motor from the boat and the water rippling, but everyone was just in awe with the sights. So again, just some interesting photos. Here is the black suspension bridge at the Kebab Bridge, or Kaibab, kind of depends on who is pronouncing that. This is near Phantom Ranch, which is at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. Again, the sights were breathtaking. Day 4, I may need to adjust this slide a little bit in the future. I'm not 100% sure this is accurate. Again, explanation of the day. Rapids are getting even bigger yet. So I was listing here the different rapids, how large they are, and we experienced each and every one of them. The rain left just interesting skies and watercolors, so it was pretty. I enjoyed the rain. I didn't have any problem with it. We are in the water, can only get wet. But we had to keep reminding ourselves to look back and see what was behind us, because those views were just as stunning as those coming in front of us. Here, just kind of an idea of what would happen when we would stop for lunch. Pardon the noise behind me, both the rafts would come in. There was one female guide on the trip, and of course her name was Monica, and she would generally go out and start to stake the boats in. They would bring the food out and we would have lunch. So it just kind of gives you an idea of part of our day. We did stop at Elves Chasm one day, and it was spectacular. As noted here, it was just so worth the scramble and the climb, because you would just 2 hands 2 feet, scrambling up the side of the mountain, and then you come across these gorgeous waterfalls seemingly coming out of nowhere. And there are no words here, just stunning. So when we got up to this waterfall, as you can see in some of these photos, you could swim out there and go behind the waterfall. I, of course, decided to swim out there, sat behind the waterfall, did the photo op, and when I had swum back out, I had noted that there were a couple of the other gals up on the top and jumping in. So this just kind of reminded me, and I had to name this slide the Grand Canyon version of the Petticoat Junction Gals. And again, what the weather and nature and time has done to rocks is just wow. So every night, wasn't even dark yet, probably 3 or 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock maybe, we would dock for the evening. So this is where we would have our home that evening, dinner, camaraderie, and sleep. Day 5, another stunning day. The maps. I believe this was the scramble hike up to Havasu Falls and the patio. And I believe this was the hike going up to that destination and looking down where you can see the river, and it's getting further and further away as you climb. Just look at the photos, they're stunning. A lot of these that have the silky water, well, all of these that have the silky water Steve had taken. So just enjoy. So speaking of Steve, who is so shy, he just made the ladies laugh, and then the other people were just doing their thing and keeping busy and drying out clothes and setting up their area for the evening. But there was always camaraderie and fun and interesting people to meet and speak with. Day 6, we're almost coming to the end. Again, the map. And the hike up to Havasu Falls was, again, a scramble hike, but the destination was 100% worth it. One of the areas had kind of a swoop in the water, and our guide, of course, brought up a blow up lobster. Who wouldn't? So these are just a couple videos of those. Okay, that was Dan Hirsch, and this is yours truly.
There you go, yeah, good job.
So just a fun day up there, just getting wet and being little kids and playing. Oops, sorry. There was another area in which you could sit. People were thinking the water was cold. Being I grew up in northern Ohio, lived in Wisconsin for years, the water felt amazing. So these are just some of the photos from there. And it's finally day 7. And the distance was just going up to the top. So they're coming to take us away. The helicopter comes in. We got some pictures of those. You see, this must have been Steve when he was in the helicopter looking down. So this raft was going to be heading out when all of us were gone. And this looks a little bit more drastic than it was, but that helicopter got in a very small area. And then soon we were loading up and up and away. Helicopters taking off. And then we were over the flat area going out to bar 10. So it was just a very interesting transition. These are some of the collages that I created for Steve. He wanted to do some things with them. These are some of the collages I created for things that I wanted to do. So it's just always showing a little bit of something that different people were doing along the way, and every single bit of it was fantastic. And I actually was able to pick up the pumpkins at the end. So these were kind of funny. So Dan Hirsch was surrounded by 3 Monicas this time. Monica, his wife, Monica, one of the crew member, and myself. And then Steve was flanked by 2 Monicas. It's just kind of a running thing that we have going. We finally found some. Look carefully, you can probably find them too. Here, and you'd have to look very closely here. Just some additional information for anyone who is interested. Steve had a vast majority of these photos, and he added several of them to the Hatch activities sections. So this link should take you there. I just wanted to note that the reference I used for the approximate miles and the stops came from Wikipedia. Yes, I understand it's Wikipedia, but it was the best I can do. If you're interested in that, you can click that link. The photos of the maps used for every day come from this book. It's available at Amazon. It's also available at other places. And the what to expect each day information came directly from Hatch's site, and their link is on there. So we hope you enjoyed our little jaunt through here. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience.